All right, folks, we're here in Washington, D.C., and this is the Navy Memorial. And this is where we're meeting our tour bus for the monuments. Oh, man, there's the lone sailor. I've seen this in posters and wow. Hey, brother. On our tour bus, it's got a glass roof. There's the Navy Memorial.
Yeah, I appreciate her win.
Correction, that's the National Archives Museum.
Okay.
And this is the Navy Memorial with the lone sailor statue. And we are here on the tour.
So where Pennsylvania Avenue and Constitution Avenue meet, that forms a triangle. So this is home to a bunch of different federal buildings and agencies. This one immediately on our left, that's the Department of Justice headquarters. That's named after Robert F. Kennedy. On the right side, across the street here, that's the headquarters for the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the FBI. And that building is named after J. Edgar Hoover, who was actually a Washingtonian. So he was born here in the district. Served there for many, many years. Left side, if you can see through the rain, that is a fan favorite building. That is, of course, the headquarters for the IRS, the Internal Revenue Service. And this building is so beloved that if you were to look it up on Google Maps, it doesn't actually tell you who occupies that building.
Oh no.
They want to keep it a big secret.
Oh.
Was the first person of Native American descent to first be elected to Congress, and then became vice president. So the first multiracial person to, serve as vice president and president.
That's Lincoln Memorial. Yes, that's the Washington Monument. Oh yeah, the Capitol. Yeah, the Capitol. It's on all the way at the end. So cool. Huh?
Cranes on the opposite side of the bank over there. All around that is the Ohio Bridge, which separates the tidal basin and the Potomac River. And there's one particular cherry blossom. Looking cherry blossom. Yes, that's what they said, yeah. The only difference is the one in Rome has a skylight, exactly. So, Pantheon in Rome. Rome and Greece, two of the birthplaces of democracy. So we draw on that history a lot when we build this city. Most prolific writer of the Founding Fathers. What you see up there at the top of that colonnade there, that's called the Committee of Five. So those are the 5 individuals who were tasked by the Continental Congress to draft the Declaration of Independence. It's Thomas Jefferson's memorial, so he's the one big in the middle. Far left, that's Benjamin Franklin, inventor, you've heard of Franklin. The right of Franklin, that's John Adams, second president of the United States. Far right, that's Robert Livingston from New York. Robert Livingston was actually the person that swore in George Washington as the first president of the United States up in Federal Hall at New York City. Robert Livingston, next to him is Roger Sherman from Connecticut. Roger Sherman, only person to sign all 4 state documents of the United States. Articles of Confederation, Declaration of Independence, Constitution, and the Bill of Rights. Only person to sign all 4 of those documents.
This is the Martin Luther King Memorial.
A few interesting things about Dr. King's memorial. For one, only major memorial here on the National Mall dedicated to somebody who did not serve in the military or as an elected politician. The only one really dedicated to just somebody who was a citizen, first and foremost. And one of my tour guide friends, he told me that the best photograph he's ever seen at a memorial was taken right here, between the Mountain of Despair. So Dr. King was a member of the Alpha Phi Alpha Incorporated fraternity. So what my friend sees is this absolutely jacked dude, huge dude, just ripped, shirt off, huge dude. And he's standing right here in the Mountain of Despair, head down, holding it open. So he walks around, sees that his head's down, so he's not even the focus of the picture. And he sees on his chest a tattoo of the Alpha Phi Alpha logo. And my friend was just struck by, that's just a legacy for him. You know, this man as an African American, as a member of that fraternity, continuing to hold open the Mountain of Despair, continuing Dr. King's work. Pretty neat. Part of my job is to get you at the best picture spots too. And I would say right about here. Cheers for an open Marine strapped down on the beach. The Secretary of the Navy is there, watching this all happen. He's overcome with a sense of patriotism. He says, I want that flag. Give me that flag. And a second larger flag. So that's what this memorial actually depicts. This is the second flag planting at Iwo Jima. Tragic this photo is. He's a sculptor by trade. In just a couple minutes, couple hours, sculpts what you see right on his desk. He ends up becoming the designer. And what this memorial does is list the 58,281 names of all the Americans who died during the Vietnam War. List those names in order by day chronologically.
Wow.
And within each day lists those names alphabetically. And this we could watch a little bit ways this week. So you can just watch these poles. They make them black so you can't see them at night.
More than 350 names have been added to the wall. The most recent one was 2022. I told you about the guy who worked for us, but his full-time job is working for the Wall Foundation. He says it's very difficult these days to keep your loved ones staying on the wall. You need a lot of proof, evidence, and it's like getting a order from a...
So 58,000 names, 58,000 stories. I'll stop and point out a few to give you a greater sense of the people who are on this wall. We'll start here on 39 East, panel 39 East, way at the bottom here. Aloysius McGonigal. Now Aloysius, he was born in Washington, D.C. here. He was actually a physics teacher when the war started. But he felt a patriotic duty to go and serve in Vietnam in some capacity. But as a Roman Catholic, he didn't want to, serve in like a military or combat sort of sense. So he becomes a chaplain, volunteers to go to Vietnam. While he's there, he comes across a particular unit of Marines that didn't have a chaplain. Chaplains would perform important religious duties, last rites, prayers for all the troops. So, February 1968, so he volunteers to go with this group of Marines. February 1968, his unit comes under a sneak attack at the Battle of Hue. And during this battle, Aloysius McGonigal is running around the battlefield, taking wounded soldiers to the emergency hospital, giving medical aid where he can, otherwise performing last rites. In the midst of this battle, Aloysius is killed in action, becoming one of 16 chaplains listed here on this wall. And we can move down a couple more panels. So the Battle of Hue takes place during what's known as the Tet Offensive. Tet is the Vietnamese New Year holiday, and the Americans weren't expecting an attack on this holiday. But what ends up happening is a sneak attack against every single American base in South Vietnam. So this is the first day, again, this is chronological order by day. So this is the first day of the Tet Offensive, January 31st, 1968. Starting with Ghalib A. Abdullah from New York City, starting here, going down all the way to Stephen Ziegler here. So this January 31, 1968 ends up being the deadliest day for America in Vietnam. Just right here, 246 names. And you've seen all these mementos and photographs left at the base of the wall here. Families will come here, as you see, leave photographs, leave letters, maybe a letter from a son or daughter who never knew their father or uncle. And these mementos are routinely picked up by the National Park Service and preserved in a special collection that now houses over 500,000 different objects since the wall opened in 1982. Dwight Eisenhower sends over the first advisors to Vietnam. The first names listed on that wall, they were watching a movie in the middle of the night, lights all on. The film roll ends, they have to get up, turn on the lights, put in the next roll of film. When they turn on the lights, that's when the attack comes. So those are the first names listed on the wall. The war officially ends in 1975. The Battle of Saigon happens in April 75. So after Saigon falls, most of our troops leave mainland, or really all of our troops leave mainland Vietnam. But a couple months after the fall of Saigon, a boat, a cargo ship, called the Mayaguez is captured by communist forces near Vietnam. The United States dispatches several naval ships to liberate the hostages on the Mayaguez. And this ends up being just a tragic end to what already was a tragic war, America's longest war at that time. So the Marines and the Navy land on a heavily occupied island, and it just ends up being a terrible battle, which really didn't have to be fought, because unbeknownst to those soldiers, the hostages were actually already being released at that same exact time from a different location. So it ends up being the final 19 names. Just a tragic end to an already tragic. The first conflict that we fight with a fully integrated military. So people, Americans from all different backgrounds, finally say serving in the same units. So that's what this memorial is clear. On the right side there, an African-American soldier serving next to a white soldier, and the man on the left represents all the other different nationalities and backgrounds in the United States. Again, it was very controversial in this wall. But, so I was just watching a documentary about a Vietnam veteran, and he was sharing his experiences. And he was saying what would happen. He would be out in the jungle, fighting, going through the worst things imaginable. And all the buddies around you would, of course, become your best friends. So then they'd end up in combat, and one of his buddies would get hit and go down. And then they'd come in with the Huey helicopter, medevac, and his friend. And he said what would happen is he'd get in the helicopter and just fly away, off into the sky. And he said, I'd never hear of him again. Never knew if my best friend lived or died or what happened. And he said that all these years he had no idea until they opened the wall. Then, because the government had never given him a database or any way to reach out to these people. So with the wall, it tells you the day that they were killed, the hometown where they enlisted as well, and their full name. Because a lot of soldiers, buddies of his, they were maybe replacements or something. So all he knew was that his name was Joe from Oklahoma. But with the wall, he could finally look that up and figure out whether they lived, died, whatever. And we could head this way, guys. And if they did unfortunately die, since it lists the hometowns of all the soldiers, he would be able to look in the phone book and find the family and contact them. So it would be a way for him to heal, a way for that family to heal. So they call it the wall that heals for that exact reason. This plaque down here honors soldiers who served in Vietnam, returned home, and then died as a result of their service. That's awesome. Yeah, I went when I was like 5 or something. But now my girlfriend, it's only about a 6-hour drive for us. So we're going to Alright. So welcome to the Lincoln Memorial. Welcome also to one of the most visited spots in the entire national park system. 9 million people come every year to the steps of the Lincoln Memorial, just like you, to experience our national mall. So, Lincoln Memorial, designed to emulate the Acropolis in Athens, Greece. Like I said before, Athens is one of the birthplaces of democracy. And that Acropolis in Athens was a temple. And once you get up there, I think you will see that this place is also, I think it's a temple to democracy. At least that's how I see it. 36 columns around this memorial, and above that listing the 36 states in the Union when Abraham Lincoln was assassinated in 1865. It also lists Roman numerals showing when those states joined the United States. At the very top, that's 48 states, the number of states in the Union when the memorial was completed in 1922. I'll tell you a little bit about the memorial down here, that way I don't have to yell inside it and maybe get yelled at by somebody. So, just take one step this way, guys. Thank you. When we head up there, you're going to see a 19-foot tall statue of Abraham Lincoln sitting in the chair of a Roman senator. His right hand is going to be made into a fist, and that's done intentionally to show his determination to end the war, keep the Union together, and end slavery all at the same time. His left hand is slightly open, and that's done again intentionally to show his willingness to welcome the South back into the fold after the Civil War. Because he knew, a house divided could not stand. And up on the right side, you'll see the second inaugural address, which he ends with charity toward all and malice toward none, saying it's finally time to bind up the wounds and bind this country back together. Now, second inaugural on the right side. If you venture to the left side of the memorial in there, you'll see Gettysburg Address. Gettysburg Address starts 7 years ago. 7, also the number of steps from the top of the Lincoln Memorial all the way down to the reflecting 87 steps. So with that, we'll walk up there together. We were super careful because of the rain. And I'll lead you up and point out a couple things. We'll meet back down at the base of the steps in just about 10 minutes. If you need a little extra time for the stairs or to take the ramp, that's fine. I'd much rather wait a couple minutes than somebody fall.
This is where Forrest Gump was.
Yep, right there in the silo base. So in just about 10 minutes, I'll be right back down here and
Okay.
come on. That way we all can get to bed at a good time.
This is the Korean War Memorial.
On the right side, this is called the column. Now this represents, portrays real-life patrol that the United States did in Korea. And it represents the real-life tactics too. So no matter where you're standing in this memorial, one of these soldiers will be looking directly at you, just as they would patrol and surveil an area. The Korean War is the first war, let me put it this way. During the war, Harry Truman starts the process of desegregating the military. It's a long process, doesn't fully complete until Vietnam, like we saw. That's where it starts. So Frank Gaylord, the World War II veteran who sculpted the faces and sculpted these statues, he was sure to include people from all different types of backgrounds that achieved it. So these are juniper bushes in between, taken from Korea. And those granite strips that you saw all throughout on the ground, that represents rice paddies, the kind of terrain we had to fight through. Behind me, this is the Ring of Honor, listing the names of the 36,000 Americans, as well as 7,000 Koreans who fought attached to our forces. This lists all their names, those who died during the war. Take note behind me of freedom is not free, driving home the idea of what all these 36,000 Americans, 58,000 Americans at the Vietnam Memorial, and the 400,000 Americans, driving home the idea of what they all fought and died for, which is the freedoms that we continue to enjoy today. Here, flowing in the breeze, you can see not only the American flag, but you might have seen it before. That black flag is the POW MIA flag. The idea is to fly that flag until the remains of all of our MIA soldiers are returned. So these American troops land in Korea in basically summertime, 1950, and they think the war is going to be over really quick. So the army did a lot of downsizing after World War II, so they weren't as strong as they were at the defeat of Germany and Japan. So they have a lot of logistical problems. So these soldiers who landed in summertime end up marching into the North Korean mountains, fighting in literally the coldest weather the American military has ever had to fight. And they're fighting just like this, about 25 degrees below zero, probably more. Blankets of snow, just in these ponchos, in their summertime outfits. And on the left, what you've been seeing here, this granite wall has 2,000 photographs etched into it. These are the faces of soldiers who fought during the Korean War, but beyond the front lines. So you see aviators, chaplains, nurses. You also see some of the equipment that we used in Korea. And during the daytime, so there's 19 stainless steel statues there. During the daytime, they're reflected into this granite wall. So 19 statues there, 19 in the wall, 38, a reference to the 38th parallel. This is before he decided to quit the U.S. capital. So open, what you see at the very center.
So that was USA Guided Tours, and they were amazing. The tour guide was awesome, so knowledgeable. And here we are where we started at the Navy Memorial. Now it's not raining. And we're gonna head back to our car and go to our room in Bethesda, Maryland.
What?
Bethesda?
No, we're not going to Bethesda. Remember we didn't book.
Oh, that's right. I forgot where we're staying. All right. Thank you for watching. We'll catch you in the next video. From Washington, D.C., it's Gil and Laura signing off.